Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the QRL Show Live. This is live AMA. Myself and Michael Strike from the QRL core team are excited to be joined by QRL lead blockchain developer Kaushal Kumar Singh. And Kaushal, we've had you on a number of shows, but it's great to have you on a live with us. Michael, Kaushal, how we doing?
Great. We're going to do
Yeah,
some talking about updates on the project, some dev stuff. Uh, Kashal's in the hot seat today, so I think Ryan and I are going to take a little bit passenger seat. He's got a lot to talk about. Glad to have you here, Kashal. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm too excited.
Yeah, no, yeah, to lead us in, for those of you that are familiar with, official QRL live show, obviously, every couple weeks have a show kind of touch on a mix of topics ranging from the latest in quantum and crypto news, tied into continued progress that we're making at the QRL. And as we go talking on tangible ways that you can come on, and whether you want to build a project, smart contract, maybe you're a Solidity developer, or if you're someone that's maybe just more on the retail side, and everyone in between, how you can be involved with the project. And if you're tuning into this or a prior QRL show episode, a little pat on the back or tip of the hat to yourself, you're on the bleeding edge of what is coming next in the space. We've all seen over the last 12 to 18 months that pretty much the entire blockchain space and further out than that has really been taking notice of post quantum and taking post quantum security or the idea of it more seriously. And our project, the QRL, has been a pioneer in that space since day one back in 2018. So, and it goes back to, the white paper going back a decade. So, just over the last recent while, more people are paying attention. We've been a pioneer in this space for a while. So, what we're excited to do in today's conversation is we've had a lot of dev updates, a number of pieces of news. A lot of people in our community and outside of that know that we have some several independent audits that are ongoing and a lot of dev progress that has continued to be made during testnet and then the exciting road towards mainnet. So, what we're hoping to do in this conversation, and in about a minute, we're going to open up to some AMA questions for Kaushal, kind of to fill us in on the latest, what developers can touch in testnet, what we're looking forward to with mainnet and QRL 2.0 and everything around that. So before we jump into that, I want to quickly, we cover usually quantum and crypto news a little bit. I'm going to pop up on screen here a little, just our show intro here. I'm going to jump to a little quantum news before we get to that. Just high level. Strike, we had one or two pieces of news, nothing crazy, no big Google or quantum announcements or anything from that, but we had a couple pieces of news. First one we had in the docket was, what was this one, Strike? This was obviously the Chinese progress on quantum is a little bit more of a black box compared to the rest of the world, but anything here?
Yeah, so they have Chinese have come out with essentially they're claiming the first dual core quantum processor. So the reason I like this one is when I was growing up, CPUs were essentially single core, and then they reached some limits as to how high you could scale the gigahertz. So things started to go multi-core, and now you've got 24, 32 cores. And I thought this was interesting because it's another example. It's an example of a historical analog that's now being tested from a quantum perspective. So the use cases are a bit different. It's being used in some error correction in different cases, but the fact that it was multi-core and it's quantum processing using multi-cores was interesting to me. Also, this may, if there's some learning from this may actually scale into multi-cores being used that are not necessarily right next to each other, but are actually more geographically dispersed. So there might be some interesting things that come out of that. I thought it was an interesting piece of news.
Yeah, and then the other one we had in the docket before we jump into a ton of these exciting AMA questions all around is the next one was just Photonic quantum company out of Canada raised a recent round. Anything to add to this one? I think the big one here for me is just it's another added example of continued quantum progress. And then this one obviously ties to, it's in Canada doesn't have the biggest ecosystem globally. Obviously, there's other, the U.S. is quite large. But anything to add to this one, based on what their approach is, or what they're trying to do, and how it's ingrained into the quantum computing progress for as one of many companies.
Yeah, it's another startup. They raised $200 million, 275 Canadian, to start researching and potentially producing photonic chip quantum processors. I've always thought that photonic processors, they seem to have the least amount of news, or the least amount of coverage, even though there's
out of all the approaches, they're definitely not the sexiest one.
They're not the go-to. They're not the trapped ion. They're not the trapped ions. They're not the neutral atoms. And sometimes there's a part of me that thinks that there almost feels like a degree of secrecy around them, because everything is room temperature, and you don't get a lot of news. But there's some the technology itself is really fascinating on how they do it. So this is another startup that has potential to help move the space forward. So there wasn't a whole lot of news in the past couple weeks, which I was a little surprised about. But these are two quantum news sections that I think were newsworthy.
Yep. No, perfect. Just as you mentioned, hey, it's going to ebb and flow. Obviously, certain cycles there's going to be a little bit more or less. Usually, what we do is if it's just Michael and I, or another guest, sometimes we'll do a little bit more what we call Superposition Society, which is like a Q&A, and kind of it's a community place to cover some different questions. Today's format a little bit different. It's really exciting in that Kaushal is with us. We have the lead blockchain developer of our project in the seat to be able to go through a lot of questions. So live AMA, if you have any questions live, we pre-polled quite a number of questions, a few dozen, plus from the community. So and a number of them, a couple community members had several questions in one. So it's like, there's no way we're going to get to all of them, but a couple of people had flavors of questions that were similar. So we've grouped a couple of those together. And so what we're going to do in a second, Kaushal and Michael, if it's good with you guys, we're going to jump into kind of the first of those and let Kaushal kind of take it away. So the first question is, maybe this one's a little bit more broad. As a good start now question, I'll read it out. This one is, I'm excited by the progress, dev updates, and the latest news around quantum, plus the big mention of the Google paper. They're referring to Google's recent paper, recent months, where QRL was pretty prominently mentioned a number of times throughout. Their question is, could you give a high-level status for where things are at today? So I think for the audience viewing, let's give them a bit of a number of people viewing this are familiar with where we're at, heading in QRL 2.0, but give us a high-level update for maybe those that are a little bit, or maybe new, a couple of new viewers on Twitter, on YouTube. Fill us in a little bit, and this would be a good entry point question.
Yeah, sure. So with the high level status update is like, we are not making any major changes unless it is something which is a roadblock. For example, we are making changes with the address just because we know that to maintain a NIST security level 5, we need a bigger address size. And with the existing address size, it's like there would be collision issues, hash collision issues. So those collisions will reduce the security level. That's why, like, this is something mandatory, we have to do that. Otherwise, most of the things which are critical, like how the reward should be, what should be the penalty if someone misbehaves on the network, especially the validators, those has already been finalized. So whatever we are doing is right now to merge changes which has been done in upstream, which are related to some kind of bugs, issues, or vulnerabilities, uh, making changes with the address size to make sure that it also stands with the NIST security level 5 when it comes to the hash collisions. And anything that we believe like could be an issue with audit, like we are doing our self audit, and anything, but those are small changes. So the only big changes that we are making progress with is the changes with the address format and its size. So yeah, so that's what we are doing.
Great.
So a couple tidbits in there. NIST security level 5. that's fine. That's been finalized. I think I also heard you say staking requirements.
So staking requirements are still the same. Like you need 40,000 quanta to become a staker. So it still holds the same, and I don't expect to make any changes on that. I think we are finalized on that.
Okay, those are questions that had come up in the past, so wanted to mention them. Thanks.
Yeah, and there'll be I think one or two other people had a couple other staking questions upcoming, so that's a good opener. Next one I want to get to, long time, well known within our community, Oddslayer had a question that probably a number of people good to answer on. This one is, I'll read it out for those that are viewing in on their earbuds, or maybe someone's on a commute or going for a run. Will the QRL 2.0 blockchain reflect QRL 1.0 from Genesis on with timelines and everything, or will there be something like a reset on QRL 2.0?
Good question.
Yeah, so when it comes to reflect, I believe that the expectation is whatever transactions has been done on QR 1.0, whatever things like tokens has been created or message has been sent, everything should be reflected into QR 2.0. Well, I think that's what he means from the reflection. So I would say like we will have assets and lots of like all those tokens that has been created on the network migrated on QRL 2.0, but total reflection is like you should have all those gigabytes of data stored on 2.0. So instead of that, what we will be doing is whatever will be the last block of QR 1.0, that block hash will become the part of the Genesis block. So that Genesis block will always reflect you the last block of QR 1.0 and the data that will be available on GitHub, and we may also add the support of that data into our Explorer so that people can figure out all those data or explore it, QR 1.0 data as well as QR 2.0 data. But expecting for the blockchain to start with all the data of QR 1.0, that is not going to happen. But yeah, you will have all your tokens, your quanta, whatever you hold on QRL, what the messages probably that you have sent will also be the part of it. But the last block hash of QR 1.0 will become the part of 2.0, which will act as a proof that okay, this blockchain started with the Genesis having last block hash of QR 1.0 block. So that means it's kind of a proof that this was the actual state from where QR 2.0 started. So you can always look into the data which is available on GitHub related to QR 1.0 as well as on the official Explorer. You can explore that, but it will not be inserted like somehow into the QR 2.0.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
just to
no,
summarize,
yeah.
Kaushal goes broad in his explanations and deep. So one of the things I like to do is try and summarize for the user out there. Essentially, the QRL 1.0, the transaction history will be archived, hashed, and will not be that the transactions will not be visible in QRL 2.0. Because the essential the legacy 1.0 blockchain will be archived out and then uploaded. I think he said uploaded to GitHub. So you won't be able to go into Explorer of QRL 2.0 and find a transaction from 1.0.
Yeah. Is there any other thinking off the top? You explained it nicely, and Strike, you gave the solid summary on that. I think that answers it good, and that's probably a great question by Oddslayer that a number of other people had. Let's move into the next one. I think some of these other ones might have some good follow-ups on them. This is a good high-level question. So there's all this talk about release of 2.0. What comes after QRL 2.0? I know there's a number of things. There's a lot of stuff actually. Open-ended. What do you think on this one, Kushal?
So after the release of QR 2.0, the priority would be given to the libraries. Like we need libraries similar to Open Zeppelin so that people can easily build uh, dApps on our blockchain. And it will be given priority to the IDE, like the compiler or something with development environment where you can do things much easily. Like we have the compiler, but we do not have IDE right now. So the priority will be given there so that people can build with that. And the library, of course, which I mentioned. So these will be two priorities, but if something else comes in, we will look into that. But right now, the two priorities are just the libraries and the IDE.
Yep. Perfect. Let's jump to this next
Okay.
one. Strike, did you have anything before I jump into this next one? Anything to add to that one? We're good.
Nope.
Okay,
We're
perfect.
good. Like I said, I'll try to just, there's advanced users out there, and then there's advanced users out there, and then there's new project, there's newcomers to the project. So I'll just do like distilled versions.
Yeah, do you need us, if you could summarize kind of that one as well, because there's obviously, however you want, I can jump into the next one in a moment, but that'd be helpful.
I think that was pretty, last one was pretty easy. It was pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll jump to the next one, and we'll just kind of do that as we go. And kind of there's different. Obviously, we have people on a different spectrum too. Some people are really technical or nuanced question because they're looking to build. Maybe they got 3 or 4 specific questions around. Okay, well, when I deploy a smart contract here, what's this? Obviously, this next question is around staking, but other people might just have a general question of, hey, they just want to have confidence. And well, when stuff goes from 1.0 to 2.0, what should I expect when I'm viewing something? This next one is around rewards. So this one is what do rewards look like if you run a validator node with say 60K or 80K QRL versus the 40K that limit or like the bottom line of it. That is, can I put it all on a single validator and the rewards are based off of what's in that validator? And then the follow-up one after that one is, can the rewards be distributed to that validator so they compound? So just a couple different questions here. Answer them in any order you like, and then we can kind of just fill in the user. Obviously, each person that's viewing this, if they're looking to do this, are going to have different amounts based on what they're after. But maybe we answer this one from a high level to fit in for a few people.
I just want to add, before Kaushal answers, I just want to add that last piece that they're talking about, the reward distribution. On some proof of stake networks, the rewards can either be added to the balance, they can be perhaps transferred to a different count, or they can be automatically added back into the staking amount and therefore compounding. So that's what the user is getting at. So go ahead, Kaushal.
Yeah, sure. So for the validator nodes, the requirement is 40,000 QRL. You can have more than that, but that is not going to increase your reward or is not going to give you any kind of advantage. Other than that, like if you have some kind of penalty, it will just can help to soak that penalty amount. But the last changes that we have done, which is I think is available in QRL2 existing testnet. So the changes that we have done, any amount which is deposited into the validator above 40,000 QRL, it gets automatically withdrawn uh, to the address which you have provided as the withdrawal address during the time of making deposit. So when you try to become a validator, you need to stake 40,000 QRL. So if you, let's say if you deposit 60,000 QRL, the validator, you will become a validator, but after that the extra 20,000 QRL will be automatically withdrawn to the withdrawal address. That withdrawal address, you will mention that during the time of deposit. So when you deposit, you mention the amount 40,000 QRL minimum. You can even deposit above that. You mention your withdrawal address, and once it goes there, there is a round robin sequence. So it happens automatically. So once that sequence touches your address, it sees you have more than 40,000 QRL, it automatically withdraws the extra quanta that you have in that. So that means even if you get the reward, like you are acting as a validator, you get some reward because you created some block or you minted some block or maybe you did some attestation. The moment you get the reward, your balance becomes above 40,000 QRL. Once the round robin sequence comes to your address, it will automatically withdraw the extra amount. So you will always see, like in after every few hours or something, you will see your withdrawal address is getting some new quanta from the validators that you are running. So you don't need to manually withdraw the stuffs, the extra reward, the whatever you are getting, it will happen automatically. So that answers one thing, is like there is no benefit of having more than 40,000 QRL into one single address. Okay. And the second thing that it answered, that you need exactly 40,000 QRL, or at least or minimum 40,000 QRL to start staking. Now, if you have 80,000 QRL and if you put that into same validator, it's not going to work because the extra amount will be automatically withdrawn. So you have to split that into multiple validator wallet address. So 40,000 QRL into one wallet address, 40,000 QRL into another wallet address, and then you can take the benefit of staking from two addresses. So you are getting rewards in both addresses. So something like that. And when it comes to like compounding, so as I mentioned, you need 40,000 QRL. So if you have 40,000 QRL more, you can then start with like staking again, unless you are thinking to use some kind of staking pool where it is allowed to have any kind of small amount of quanta. Once the batch is ready for 40,000 QRL, they do stake, and then you get a part of that staking reward. So staking pool is a different thing, but if I ignore that, then you need to have quanta in multiple of 40,000 QRL to add new validators on the network.
Yeah, and to viewers, the easy, obviously, I'm just using this one as an example, but it's like, for staking, Ethereum, like, okay, hey, 32 for a validator, if you stake 42, that's not gonna make a difference in terms of rewards in a similar manner. But no, Kaushal, you touched on it well. Anything to add to that? This is a little bit less, this is my lane in terms of the technical nuances of it, but anything else to add to this one, Strike, from your perspective for the viewer specific?
If I'm running a validator, let's just say it has 30,000 quanta in it. I can have that validator run, and I can have my quanta staked or not staked. Is the first. I'm assuming that's the answer is yes there. And if I stake or unstake, is there any penalty for jumping in and out of the staking pool?
And you meant 40 instead of 30, right? I just want, yeah.
No, I meant 30. Let's just say I just have 30. I just wanted to be under 40,000.
Okay, you're using a different example. Yep.
Yeah. So, so first off, I guess my first question is there any penalty for jumping in and out? Is there a delay for withdrawal? What does that look like?
So the penalty is only that it takes time. So if you join as a stake validator, you deposit 40,000 QRL, it will take you time to become the validator. And if you want to withdraw, even that is not going to happen quickly. Even that part takes some time. Like your funds are logged and then it withdraws after a certain number of blocks, which I need to check, which may take some, I think, days to get that. So basically, if you just join and leave, it will not be efficient for you, because if you are trying to maximize your reward, then that's would not be a good way. But if you think that you can jump quickly and leave quickly, that's not going to happen. There is a delay. It takes time for finalization. Once it is finalized, then that amount will be considered, and then you start staking. And the same, like if you try to withdraw, it takes some time, like to finalize that specific slot, and it takes days. Like I
Yeah.
need to check exact number, but it takes days. So that is your waiting period for both deposit and withdrawal.
Yeah, so it's not you got to have the willing on the commitment on that part, that's pretty expected.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And other thing I think you asked is 30,000 quanta. So as I mentioned, you have to deposit 40,000 or more. Anything extra is automatically withdrawn. But if somehow your balance reached to 30,000 quanta just because you deposited 40,000 quanta, but because you got penalty and you didn't uh, you didn't contributed to the network when it was your chance, or when your validator was selected to mint the block or do that station, you missed all those chances, so you get small amount of penalty and somehow your balance goes to 30,000 QRL, you will still be a stake validator. You do not need to deposit anything extra, but like you can do that, deposit something extra, but you are not allowed to. And the thing is, with 30,000 QRL, once your balance reaches, I think 50%, like if it goes from 40,000 QRL to 20,000 QRL, you will be automatically withdrawn. You will not be any more a stake validator. But if your balance reduces from 40,000 QRL to 30,000 QRL just because of penalty, because you missed your duties, you can still do the validation. You can still be the part of the network, and you can make rewards and increase your balance to 40,000 QRL. But yeah, you can still be validator. So you only need to worry if your penalty hits so much that your amount becomes half. The moment it becomes half, like from 40 to 20,000 QRL, there is a force exit. Like you have no choice, you are going to exit from the stake validator. That happens automatically, and all those 20,000 QRL, or even if it is a bit less, will be sent to your withdrawal address.
So I think any of the listeners that have proof of stake experience are thinking when you're saying 40 to 30 or 40 to 20, those sound like very aggressive slashing parameters. Will we be will we have documentation on what the parameters and the slashing or penalty costs are so that we know exactly what not to do, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, in layman's term, I can tell you something which will ease your pressure. So it's like if you do not stake for maybe, if I'm right, because I did the calculation and I have to see the numbers again, but it was like it will take you 2 years continuously. You need to miss all your duties as a validator for continuously for 2 years or something like that to have a penalty of 20,000 QRL. I need to check
Okay.
it. It could be more than 2 years. It could be like
So,
five
so
years
you
or
really got to
something
be
like
on your
that.
worst behavior for a long period of time,
Yeah.
Strike.
So it is possible to lose 10,000 or 20,000 QRL. However, you would have to be the worst actor in the history of Hollywood. So on the network. Okay, I'm not sure who that would be, but sounds good. Okay.
Cool. I'm going to jump to this next question here. This is let me just pop it up on screen. Back to our AMA. We have a big list of questions here. This one's for kind of all of us. We'll start out with Kaushal, and then Strike and I can piggyback on this one. What are you most excited about seeing built on QRL 2.0? Obviously, options are open, but within this, maybe coming from the source as a lead blockchain developer, what are you looking forward to? Maybe people build some stuff that we haven't even thought of, but there's a lot of exciting areas where we're like, hey, this is very Strike. This is something that Strike and I have touched on in recent episodes of. There's a big advantage in building early and having that first mover advantage. But we'll start this one with you, Kaushal. What are you most excited about seeing built on QRL 2.0 for those listening and watching and viewing this?
Okay, so yeah, I mean the basic things which we need for the ecosystem to grow is the DEX, of course, because if someone creates token, they expect that there should be some DEX which works on this blockchain so that they can list and get things done. That's the basic thing. But other than that, I will be very much excited to see if someone is making games and using blockchain for that. Other than that, if they are using some kind of uh, communication system like building some apps like Signal or something which is using blockchain for maybe for ephemeral messaging, or even if they want they can build something using IRC based idea and using blockchain for that, using public key and all those stuff, because you have smart contract now. You can write your own things to identify someone from their public key and then have a message encryption or all those things, something related to ephemeral messaging like that. So that would be very much excited to see, along with of course DEX is critical for this whole blockchain, because without that there would be hard to identify all the meaningful tokens that exist in the QR 2.0 blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll add to this one. Kind of excited in a similar way. Obviously, if whether someone wants to build the ones you mentioned, maybe there's something around someone with some a creative or artistic endeavor, something on an NFT side. Obviously, there's something around identity, authentication, DeFi stuff. I also think games is an interesting one because that can be played out in a number of ways of from something small to much bigger. One area I'm also excited about is, as we've clearly seen in recent months and over the last year or two, it's the idea of everyone wanting to move to post quantum, but in a way where they're not fully doing it yet. I think with QRL, with the evolution of where it's headed, I'm excited to also see some more larger players or institutions potentially use ways to use our blockchain in a way to bring in or to fold in aspects of like post quantum security, whether it's like you mentioned, obviously the messaging example, but things where there has to be, they really care about post-quantum security, but it might be in a flavor that we're not even necessarily thinking about. So obviously all the basics, but I think that there's going to be other ways where people will, build on it in novel ways, where once they see that done, other companies, other, institutions, other, maybe even, I don't know, other blockchain projects from Solidity developers are like, hey, we need to, QRL's been pioneering this for a while. Now with, QRL and the next evolution, now that opens up the door for us to be able to take what we built, bring it over in a way, and now we can do XYZ with it. So Strike, anything to add here? I know you usually have some pretty cool ideas in terms of stuff people can build. What are you excited about? I know Kaushal and I filled in a number of the bullet points, but just open ended. What are you liking or thinking about?
I'm excited to see, one of the things I've talked about in our past episodes is that you have the opportunity to be post quantum secure with your project and have first mover advantage if you're written in Solidity. So if you're written in Solidity, which Ethereum already has this vast ecosystem, right? I want to see who's the first one to jump on the bandwagon. Essentially, recompile for QRL 2.0 and the Zond hard fork. Recompile and see who is the first to do that. This is not because this is not Ethereum. This is not Ethereum starting up with EVMs where the code needs to be developed, ideas and frameworks, bugs need to be worked out, audits need to be done. The code essentially already exists. There's some ancillary work and some readdressing and recompiling in order to move on to QRL 2.0, but you already have. I mean, for the most part, you already have the project, and there's no reason why a project. Most projects should be able to run dual chain, run on Ethereum, and also run on have a quantum secure option running on QRL 2.0. Kaushal, if you have any additional notes on that, that's one of the narratives that I've been talking about. If you have any additional notes to add to that, I'm happy to hear them.
Yeah, is there any? I think that covers it pretty well. I'll pull up on screen here just a question for 1 more second for anybody else. That's we just covered. Hey, what potential ideas, categories are we excited about people building on with QRL 2.0? We got a couple more. I might have another open-ended question that I saw as a flavor of a couple questions people had. I'm going to move on to the next one here, and then we'll kind of circle back to some other ones. This one is different topic entirely. This one is around, I'll read it out for those that are listening in. For those viewing, you can see it on screen as well. The question reads, the Falcon 1024 implementation for P2P is currently in progress. Is this a prerequisite for mainnet's launch, or will it be a post-launch feature? What do we got on this one, Kaushal?
So this is something we believe that we should have before the launch. So it should not be the part of post-launch. It should be the prerequisite, just because the existing P2P layer is using encryption and all those cryptographies, signing and all those stuff, but they are not post-quantum. So they are like some kind of non-post quantum cryptographies, and with that, I mean, we can still release without that, but that means the audit report would not be good, because any auditor who will look into that will say that, okay, you have everything post quantum secure, but your P2P layer is not post quantum secure. That will not affect your wallet, but still it can affect your network somehow. So it's better that we upgrade that to Falcon 1024, and if we need to upgrade it further in future, it will not be a big trouble. It's just like we have to do another hard fork if we decide with some new cryptography, which is much better for to improve the P2P along with the keeping the security level same. But for now, in short, I can tell you that it is very much important to have a clean audit report. Otherwise, if I don't do that right now, definitely auditors will raise questions on that, and anyone, because it makes sense, because you are using a non-post quantum cryptography on P2P layer. That's something which is not good. So yeah.
For anyone that's not sure what P2P is, this is it's peer-to-peer or auditor to auditor or node-to-node communication. That's the security. That's the security that we're talking about. It's not part of the consensus. It's not part of the addressing. It's not part of the DSA. It's simply the exchange of information between a QRL 2.0 node and another QRL 2.0 node.
Yeah, that's correct. It's the exchange of information that's happening between two nodes, and the encryption that which is being used between the two nodes. That's what is affected by Falcon or any other cryptography. So yeah, it doesn't affect your wallet. It doesn't affect the security of your wallet. It doesn't degrade the security of your wallet. So it's just that having this will improve the security between communication between two nodes. So two computers can communicate without being compromised by quantum computers. So even if it happens, so that way in worst case you are not going to lose funds because your wallet is quantum secure, but it will only uh, damage the communication between two nodes, and maybe they will ban each other, and it will affect the propagation of some like transactions or something from one computer to another. Because when you make a transaction, it needs to be broadcasted to multiple nodes so that it reaches to the correct block minter who actually creates the block and add those transactions. So it doesn't affect your wallet. You are safe on that side. It just like affect the overall network security. That's it.
So this is a good distinction point. I want to point this out. There's a lot of projects. Any project that essentially has quantum in their name or references being post-quantum secure, there are components that are completely not quantum secure. For example, half of their network, half of their ecosystem is an ERC or BRC20 that has nothing to do with post-quantum security. That's 50% of the project right there.
Yeah.
There's other things that other projects say they're post-quantum security. We're taking a holistic approach down to the T, and that we're making sure that even the node-to-node communication itself, which I don't even think I've ever seen a single X thread talk about node-to-node communication or even bring it up. Never. So we're taking a very, very holistic, dual audited approach by world-respected experts in the field to make sure that when we say post-quantum secure, we mean post-quantum secure.
Yeah, to the bone. This is not it's not a rusty car with a paint job over it. Yeah.
There's not caveats. There's as little as there's no caveats that are that I even know of as being a member of the team. So we mean full post-quantum security. So there's a difference between when QRL says post-quantum secure and when any other project says post-quantum secure. You really have to look into what post-quantum secure means to you. And Ryan, I think this would be a good episode for us to cover in the future.
That's just standalone. That's a staple of what the differentiating unique selling proposition of our project is, and that anyone that has said even recently, we could pull out a list of 100 examples of XYZ project, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Well, hey, there's a caveat there. There's a caveat, and here what you're saying, Michael, hits it front and center of we're looking at all these specific areas of no, this is in a world where cryptographically relevant quantum computer is going to be powerful enough whenever that happens, every aspect of it needs to have post-quantum security in mind, because if not, that caveat could be the difference between your funds or anything else being quantum secure and being in the dust. So I'll leave it at there. I know that's
it's the holistic approach as far as all of the code where there's communication, anything that hits the wire, post-quantum secure. No names, but I can talk about 5 post-quantum secure projects. Right. I mean, I could that have 2 to 3 that have 2 to 3 very significant quantum vulnerabilities. So another day.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop up on screen. We got another AMA question that is another question that's specific to network. So this one is the network reset for 48-byte addresses the last major architectural change before mainnet, or are there additional modifications still planned?
So for now, it's like change in address size is what is planned, as that will be a major change. Other than that, I don't think that we have anything major in terms of modifications unless something comes up in the audit. So that will be a different story. But for yeah, address size is what we are considering to take it to the niche security level 5 too. Because even if you have a cryptography which does support niche security level 5, if you have a weak address size which doesn't meet the niche security 5 level, let's say if it's just niche security level 1, your overall security will be determined by always the weakest part of this. So the weakest part is here is the address size. So even if you're using niche security level 5 a cryptography, you're at because of the small address size, you will end up with niche security level 1 or something even more degraded with that. So that's why we are working on that. But yeah, for now that's the only major change that we are doing. We have no plan to do any other major change. uh, the Falcon one, which whether you see that as a major or not, that's up to the community. But yeah, the Falcon one is also the part of the change for the P2P communication. And so these are the two major things that we are planned. But if something new comes up in the audit, then that's a different story.
Perfect. Before we jump to the next question, a couple general questions that came in pre-recording, and then a couple on just the audit front. For those that are viewing this, if we have a weekly update that comes out in our newsletter and weekly update, we have a couple audits going on in parallel. So for those that want to see some of the stuff that's already taken place with the Hellborn audit, you can see that. You can even click and see the 13 parts they found were all informational in the next week's QRL email, or if you look on our blog at the past weekly updates, you can click through and read that, and the other audit with Trail of Bits continuing and in progress. So the main update there on the audits is that, hey, everything's going along great and is continuing as intended. To jump back to the next question here, I'm going to pop it up on screen. Here we have, next question is, when the Zond mainnet launches, will QRL need to be moved from old wallets to the new ones, or will it get an update and existing coins don't need to be moved anywhere? It's not so clear for me. So they're just asking a general question. Just want to have some confidence in what's going to happen. Maybe some other people have a different flavor of this one. What can we inform people on here, Kaushal, in terms of what's happening for them, in terms of what they're viewing, and then importantly under the hood, what's going on for them?
Yeah, so for this, it's like the existing QRL 1.0, which is using XMSS wallet. So your wallet is based on XMSS, and the QRL 2.0 wallet is based on MLDSA 87. So these are two different cryptographies, result into two different wallets, so two different signature scheme and all those stuff. But the thing is, your balance, whatever balance you had on QRL 1.0, that will be reflected on your XMSS address in QRL 2.0, but you will not be able to make transactions unless you withdraw on QRL 2.0 your whatever quanta you have in your XMSS wallet to a new wallet. A new wallet will be the MLDS 87 wallet. So you need to generate that, and you need to follow the migration protocol. So the migration protocol uh, for now, which we have planned, is not going to require any intermediary or anything like that. It's just you need to sign from your XMSS wallet that okay, I want to withdraw my holdings from XMSS to my new MLDS 87 wallet, and you need to make that transactions on QRL 2.0, and you will have your all of the funds on your new wallet. So basically that would be the part of migration protocol, and there will be clear documentation of that how you will do that. But technically your funds will already be there in QRL 2.0. You can see that on Explorer. You can just paste your XMSS address, and then you can see you have funds. But those funds are like, because it is on XMSS address, they are on pending state. Like you need to withdraw them to a new wallet, to a new MLDS 87 wallet, and for that you need to follow the migration protocol. And yeah, you got everything.
I just want to, I'd like to add in, even if you don't follow the migration protocol and you decide to let the funds sit, your funds are still post-quantum secure.
Yeah, your funds are also quantum secure, plus there is no deadline for the migration. You can do that 2 years after, 4 years after, something like that. So like that. So it's nothing like you have to do migration immediately or something. You can do it anytime. It's there. It's your XMSS wallet. It's there. You have the funds and all those tokens that you used to hold on QR 1.0. Everything is there. You just need to migrate, and you can choose your own time. 5 years from now, 8 years from now, that's totally up to you.
I'm just thinking ahead in the Twitter feeds. Well, there's a migration process for QRL 2.0. That's the same as projects A, B, and C. No, we're migrating from a completely post quantum secure signature, one-time signature hash-based scheme, and over to MLDSA 87. So if you never migrate, your funds could sit there and be post quantum secure for as long as you wanted. So that's it. Thank you, Kaushal.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm going to pop up on screen. We got the next one here, which is a question on screen. I'll read it out for those listening in. For a Solidity developer who wants to migrate their project over to QRL today, how long does it realistically take? And what are the main friction points? I'll add a note that depending on how long it takes, it's going to depend a little bit on the project, but in general, they're just asking, hey, what's the switching costs? And based on their weighing, the benefits, the pros and cons of it all. So uh, this is a good question for Solidity developers. What do you want to let them know on this one, Kushal?
So when it comes to migrating to the QRL project, so when it comes to just to the smart contract, usually it may take you a few minutes or seconds, because let's say if you are migrating ERC20 or maybe ERC721 smart contract code or something, you just need to change the first line, which is pragma from Solidity to Hyperion, and the version, whatever latest version is there, and you can compile the contract and deploy it. So that part is very easy. Like, you don't need to make much changes. The problem where you can face, like where you need to make major changes, is usually on the UI UX part. So if you have some front end, you have created some website that allows to interact with the dApps, so you may be using open zeppelin based libraries there or something on the Ethereum ecosystem. Here things changes, like we have a different cryptography, so you need to change uh, like the sign function, verify function based on the cryptography that we have. So those will take time depending upon how complex is your project. But when it's come to the smart contract, that's the least amount of time it is going to take. So as I mentioned, ERC20, 721 token, any kind of standard tokens are going to take you few seconds. Okay. But if there is some kind of address you have mentioned, then that, let's assume that it will take you few minutes. That's it for the contract based stuff. But for the anything that you have built in terms of UI UX and kind of server stuff, any kind of client thing that you have built, UI UX in JavaScript or web using Web3.js or any other library, that will take some time depending upon how complex is that.
Got it. No, that's helpful. I wanted to, we got a number of more questions to jump into, and we're still not covering some of them. But what I wanted to quickly show on screen here, and I can read it out for those that are listening. There's a number of people that had a lot of great questions where maybe they had, 6 or 4 or 8 or 12 plus questions. If anyone has more technical questions or thoughts, if you go to github.com/orgs/the QRL and go to /discussions, where you just screenshot this. If you have some more technical questions and thoughts, a potential way to ask those, you can ask them in here as well. I'm gonna go back a couple slides, and we're gonna keep going with some of these live AMA questions. I think the next one on here is we had 1 or 2 questions around this, so I kind of readjusted this question to be a bit more broad. And this one is, when will Hyperion be ready to deploy smart contracts and QRVM? Had a couple different ways this was asked. So just in general, people want to know on this tied to Hyperion. What do we have for this one, Kushal, for the audience?
Yeah, so I differentiate between, like, what's the Hyperion. Hyperion is just an alternative of Solidity. So in Ethereum, you use Solidity compiler to compile your smart contract. Similarly, in QRL, we have Hyperion, which is basically a compiler. It just compiles your smart contract and generates the bytecode which is required. So that's the purpose of Hyperion. So it's not something which is used to deploy. It's just like you use that to generate your bytecode and then you do your stuff, maybe using Web3.js or something to deploy that bytecode by making a transaction and paying the gas fee required for it. So Hyperion is already there. It's already ready. Like you can write smart contract code and deploy it on testnet v2. It was always ready. Like whatever testnet we have released prior to this, Hyperion was functional. You write your smart contract code, you compile it, you get the bytecode, you use Web3.js library to deploy it, that bytecode, making a transaction with some fees, whatever it is required, and then your smart contract is there on the blockchain. So Hyperion is already ready. Now coming to QRVM. So QRVM is a virtual machine. So you do not deploy your smart contract on virtual machines. You basically deploy your smart contract on the blockchain. So QRL is the blockchain. That's where you deploy the smart contract. QRVM is the virtual machine which actually executes your smart contract. So when you deploy your smart contract on QRL, the first thing that runs is the constructor of the smart contract, so that is being executed on QRVM. Now if someone is making transactions or interacting with your smart contract, that part is also executed by QRVM. So QRVM is the execution, QRL is where you deploy your smart contract, and Hyperion is the compiler. Its job is just to compile and tell you if there is some issue. If not, then generates the bytecode which you can later use in your transactions to deploy it. So Hyperion is, it doesn't deploy, it automatically doesn't do any kind of deployment, it just do the compiling stuff. And
Got it.
in short, we have everything ready. Like you can still do write smart contract, compile it with Hyperion, make transactions and deploy your smart contract. That's it.
If you are out there now and you are a developer and you are getting asked any questions about post quantum security and you run a VM on Ethereum, most, I mean, as I said, Ethereum has a broad, vast ecosystem. If you're a project, you have a major issue in that your project is running on top of the L1, which is Ethereum, which is not post-quantum secure. Trying to appeal to the developers here with some straightforward, very low cost solution here. Download testnet, take your source code from Solidity and compile it with the Hyperion compiler, drop it on the testnet 2.0, start testing it, and tell your customers you're already beta testing a post-quantum secure option. This is a question that came up, I think, maybe 1 or 2 AMAs ago. How do I convince the developers to take post-quantum security? People are overwhelmed with post-quantum security. The base chain is the problem. Ethereum's all of the BSAs for 99.99% of the ecosystem has base chain quantum computer vulnerabilities. Take your code, recompile it with Hyperion, drop it in a testnet. Tell your customers you're already beta testing a solution.
And for those that are on the, like, obviously for those that are maybe championing the idea of moving over to QRL and for what it can offer with post quantum too, the people that you're trying to potentially convince or, lean them in the right direction, they care about the solution of moving to something that is post quantum. So try to lean in with that. Also, there's going to be a number of people that are building that are, maybe they're building something as a side project where it starts a bit more hobbyist, and then they're hoping it can form into something a little bit later on, whether it's, games, DeFi, NFT, I don't know, fill in the blank. Maybe in those cases, it's a Solidity developer of one. So you're the one that is the sole decision maker, and you don't have to convince anyone. But for the ones that are convincing maybe a team or a small group, lead in exactly as Michael said. And if not, or either way, depending on how big or small your your ambition is with your project, uh, being able to move over to something, it's going to be beneficial, net beneficial all around. So, Michael, thank you for adding the context there.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem is the EVMs you don't have control over the base chain, right? That's the biggest problem with going.
You can do anything on the surface. You don't control the. Yeah.
We've solved this for you. We've taken the largest problem, greased the skids, and turned that largest problem. And now we're giving you the opportunity to be first mover advantage in post quantum secure with very little cost. So we've solved the problem for you.
Yeah, I'm going to jump into, there's one more question we had on Hyperion here. So I will pop this one up on screen as we continue. We got a couple more AMA ones here we can get to. We're almost hitting up on the hour, so we'll try to get a couple more here. And then, as mentioned, people can ask other technical questions in whether it's GitHub discussions or on an upcoming AMA. Next one, I'll read it out, and then Kaushal can give us his take on it. This one is around, they titled it as contract standards and official library. Will Hyperion support full equivalence of ERC 721 and ERC 1155? And will there be an official contract library similar to Open Zeppelin? That's from KH. They had a number of questions. I paired their prior one with another one, but that's the question that reads out here. What insights do you have for this community member and for others that are maybe asking similar type questions here?
So for ERC 721 or 1155 or anything like ERC 20, anything like that, if you have the smart contract, the only changes that you need to make is the first line, which is in Ethereum, it is pragma, solidity, and then comes the version. In QRL Zone, you just need to change that line pragma. Instead of solidity, you replace that with Hyperion, and then you write the version that is required, like Hyperion greater than equal to something like that, version thing stuff. So that's what you need to change there, and the rest of the code will remain same. So it will run exactly as it is. Now coming to the library, like Open Zeppelin, as I mentioned before, a few minutes before, something like that, is we have planned to build such libraries that will start the moment like we are done with the migration protocol and the changes which is required to release QRL 2.0 mainnet. Once those are done, our full focus will be on the library, which will be similar to Open Zeppelin, and the second full focus will be on this IDE side, like the integrated development environment, where you can easily make things, test stuffs in your locally, and then deploy it whenever you are ready, something like that.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Anything to add to that one, Michael, or just as a added, site?
No, it's just a caveat to what I've been saying. If your project is has library dependencies, there might be some lag time. You might not be able to spin up tomorrow if you're dependent on those libraries. But it was a good question.
Cool. I'm gonna jump to this one. Then we got a couple others that came in. I'll read it out. Falcon for P2P and 48-bit addresses seem to be recent additions, lengthening development. How many foreseeable blockers to mainnet are set to be added before the final audits and release? So you can answer this one, and maybe they're asking kind of more just a general question around, hey, general blocker or anything else, as we head into the rest of the audits and before release. However you want to touch on this one, I'll have a follow-up question that's a little bit more broad, but this is whatever you want to add on this one, Kaushal.
Yeah, so I will keep it short. It's like these are the only two that we have planned for now. We do not see any blockers right now. And if, as I mentioned, if something comes in the audit, then that's a different thing, because if it comes in, then we need to fix that. But till now, we do not see anything else than these two things.
Yep. I'm going to go to, if there is, while we're on the topic right now, we got, if anyone has any additional questions, I'm going to pop up while I think we have one or two. We're just going over the hour mark now. I'm going to pop in a couple other ones here. We got one. I'll show it on the stream for a second here. This one, Chiller ID, known within the community. Would be great to hear about the audit and mainnet readiness process and see how that's progressing. I will touch on the audit one I mentioned about 5-10 minutes ago, for continued updates on that within our weekly updates, within our newsletter. We'll continue updating as that unfolds. Obviously, we have several high caliber independent audits that are ongoing. Those are both known in terms of who those are with, and those are done by utmost professional teams. So as we continue to progress with there, we'll continue to release any announcements as we find that and relay those to you. But as mentioned, that stuff's coming along really well. Kaushal, to add to this just for a minute, maybe just anything else that you there's a lot of stuff that is continuing internally development wise that we're continuing to progress on and in the road to mainnet. Anything else from a high level that we can inform the community on of where we're looking in terms of maybe hey, just giving reassurance that hey, stuff's going on the right track. If people are looking at our weekly dev updates, they can see okay, hey, we're hitting off different stuff. But anything else to add, just high level, that will give the community and those outside of it, that thumbs up and reassurance that hey, stuff's going well. Because obviously we know that, but we as much as we can share.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, like I do not see any roadblockers ahead. So, and I do not see any major changes that we have to do. We have already done most of the changes. It's just those things like address and the P2P stuff that needs to be fixed. Plus the self-auditing that we are doing ourselves. So it's not like we are just writing codes and making those upgrades. We are also doing self-auditing ourselves and also looking to the upstream fixes, whatever patches has happened in last 1.5 years. We are adding all those in our code which are relevant to our code. If it is something which is not relevant to our code, we are totally ignoring that. So yeah, it's I think with the self auditing, I believe audit will become much easier because we have already done some self auditing and have fixed lots of issues ourselves. So in that case, we don't expect anything major coming, or like our expectation is we should not see any major roadblocker coming from the audit, or okay, you have to make this or those changes. So I'm positive, like optimistic about that. So I hope it is like that. But yeah, no major changes other than address and the P2P. So I think that should be fair enough to say. Once that is done, then it's just like uh, self auditing the repositories and then asking auditors to move forward and see if you can find something which we need to make changes.
Perfect.
With the dual auditing, Halbert and Trail of Bits, there is no other project in the ecosystem that is fully post-quantum secure and is willing to put their code under world class scrutiny. So no one else, nobody else is doing this. Everyone else is trying to catch up, and there are going to be migration problems. Let's do a future episode on this as far as how we think that this is going to unfold. We've been post-quantum secure for anyone that's new. We've been post-quantum secure since the first block. Our code is being audited. Well, the QRL 1.0 was independently audited by two external security firms. QRL 2.0 is also being now audited by two highly reputable firms. I don't know of any other project that is put in there that claims post-quantum security and has even announced an audit by even just one external third-party firm. So
Yeah.
Nobody else is doing this.
Yeah.
We're pioneering this effort, and with maintaining backward compatibility of Ethereum and Solidity with Hyperion, we're making this as easy as possible to help the ecosystem. We're not here to replace Bitcoin. We're not here to replace Ethereum. We love the ecosystem. Many of us have been in the space for years, myself, many years. We're trying to augment and help provide options to the ecosystem so that it does not end in complete disaster. So we are trying to help, and No other project is doing what we're doing here at the QRL. I can say that with confidence. You're probably gonna ask me for some closing notes, Ryan. I might have
Yeah.
you a little bit.
No, that's great. Just for those, I'm going to jump in. I have one more kind of AMA style question for Kaushal in a moment, but I just want to add a note. As mentioned, we had dozens of questions coming in, and by dozens of questions, one of those questions might have had 9 questions within it. So there was just a ton to try to get to. So for any community members that had a question that we weren't able to get to, we'll aim to, this is not going to be whether we have a pre-recorded or a live AMA upcoming with Kaushal in the road to mainnet. We'll be having another, AMA where we can jump into even more questions upcoming. And for those that asked in, I think, Volt Development had a question around NIS2 regulations in the EU. We had a couple other good ones that came in around another one that was talking about, a staking question, some others. And then just for everyone in the community that asked some questions, we will continue getting to more of those. As a closing out question, maybe I think a good place to kind of close and wrap out this one would be, Kaushal, for those that are maybe on the technical side, they're looking to build on QRL. Obviously, anyone in general can go to the QRL.org. If anyone's looking to set up web wallet.theqrl.org. What other URLs? Obviously, we have test-zond and for people to go to, but what's a place or two that you would point the person that falls in the bucket of what Strike mentioned, of maybe they're trying to champion to their team why they should move early and think about post quantum and building on QRL, or just an individual Solidity dev that is wanting to get their hands dirty and start building now? Where's a place or two you'd point them, and then we can close it out from there. I think that's a good way for us to wrap up as we're past the hour mark, a little over here.
I would say of course they need to look into the documentation, the first thing, but the best thing that they can do to make things easier for them is to join our Discord channel, because it's very much active. You get any, if you want Quanta to test on the testnet v2, you ask there, you get it. You need any kind of help, you ask there, you get it. Or even you can search for some questions which has already been answered in the past, and it helps you to connect with the ecosystem to keep you up to date, like what changes we are doing and what you can expect, so that you can plan on before, okay, these are the changes going to happen and I should be writing my code so that I can make those changes when it is actually released. So yeah, Discord is the first thing that I will suggest. And of course you have to look into documentation, you have to look into how you can deploy stuff. Even if you want to run a private network, it is possible using kurtosis uh, on testnet v2 too. Or if you don't want to run private network, you want to play on testnet v2, look into the documentation how you can run a testnet v2. And for the funds you can always ask on Discord. But yeah, my best suggestion is you get into Discord.
Yeah. So if you're viewing this right now, if you're on a mobile device or laptop, whatever device you're on, you can even screenshot, our faces will smile here, and, you can see these links here. But if you just go to QRL, you can see the different social links from there. One point I just want to add, and I'm sure we'll touch on this upcoming, this is just more of a general hygiene best practice, especially, we're in the blockchain and crypto space. Make sure that as we, with anything, whether you're interacting with a web wallet or you're interacting with any other aspect, especially as we move towards with stuff with migration, when you are following instructions, make sure that you're always looking for official updates. So checking, making sure that, you're not, if someone's pointing you to some weird URL or something's looking off, just do that, take that extra 30 seconds or a couple minutes to do due diligence, make sure that you're not, following anything that seems nefarious, because, as the project, evolves, obviously there's always going to be the mix of some, scammers out there trying to maybe do something. So that's just a general practice. As we have a few dozen people live on here and a couple hundred people that are going to view this over the course of the next week, and, a little bit further beyond that, just always keep that in mind. So whether we're talking about something right now, or if we're talking about migration process, look for official stuff that's coming from the QRL.org, making sure that, you're following it. If something looks fishy, feel free, as Kaushal mentioned and Strike and I mention all the time, we have a vibrant Discord community. If something looks fishy, share it within the chat. If you're not sure, hey, is this the right one? Don't hesitate. There's no dumb questions um, in there. So as a wrap up of this episode, as Kaushal mentioned, Discord is a great place. Michael, can you just wrap us up before I do the final closeout? Anything else to add there in terms of where people can jump to on screen? I'll show our social handles again. Anything else to wrap us up here for this live?
No, that was a good wrap up. Ryan, we'll put the links in the
Show notes.
in the show notes and the links in the YouTube channel below as we get closer to QRL 2.0. We are expecting some colorful personalities, potentially with not your best interests in mind, to pop out of the woodwork. Always make sure you're getting your official and your information from official QRL channels from the QRL.org.
Yeah. No, thanks for adding context there. Kaushal, as always, we've done a number of pre-recorded, great shows with you, and those are awesome. And so it's really nice to be able to have, you on the official QRL show live. This is, we're real time answering questions. A number of them, I just populated some of them and asking off the cuff. So first off, appreciate you jumping on. We have a ton of, we're seeing each week all the great development that's worked on internally amongst the team, and to be able to share that more with the community. It's always a great opportunity to do that. So first off, thanks to you. Thank you to everyone within our community that's continuing to, believe in the project. You are early, it's still an early inning in this game of, leading to, post quantum. And, until the next episode, myself and Michael and Kaushal as well join in the live AMA. We hope you have a great rest of the day. And until the next episode, keep those digital assets post quantum secure, and we will see you soon. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.